Drop the gun! Show me your hands!
All right, we're back with another mass shootings update. Last week we talked about the 5 cities with the most this year. In this video, we'll look at the states with the most, as well as the states that have yet to record one, along with a quick look at all of the mass shootings from this past week. We've had 419 so far this year, including 12 from this past week, which may sound like a lot, but that's a really slow week for the summer. And we'll get to those in a minute. So the 5 states with the most mass events are Texas with 42, California with 31, Illinois with 29, largely due to Chicago, and Florida and Louisiana both with 23. Historically, California, Florida, and Texas are the top 3, but Illinois being in there is not a surprise. And if I was to go just a little bit further to states with 22, the list would have also included both North Carolina and Pennsylvania. There are 9 states without a single reported event, and when you look at the list, ask yourself if these are states with a lot of guns or states with very few. They are Alaska, Delaware, Montana, Nebraska, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the 12 events that we've had just from this last week. I'm just going to talk a little bit about each one so the video doesn't get too long. And we'll start on July 24th, which we had 2 that day. We had the Bronx, New York, which had recorded its 5th one, and this happened outside a bar or nightclub. Tulsa, Oklahoma recorded their 3rd, and this was a domestic violence home invasion. Basically, a guy broke in and shot 4 people, including his ex-girlfriend. On July 25th, we had 1, and that was at Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh has had 2 this year, but in neither one has someone lost their life. In this one, a man and 2 teenagers were in an Uber. 2 guys approached, and they exchanged gunfire from in and out of the car, and the Uber driver was fine. But again, this goes back to what I was saying in a previous video. Driving for Uber is not a safe profession, and it doesn't really pay enough to risk your life. A lot of these Uber drivers get caught in the crossfire of things that they're not involved in. All right, now we jump to July 28th, and we had a rare 2 days off. The 26th and the 27th, there was not an event recorded. There's often single days, but it's not very often, especially in the summer, that we go 2 days in a row without one event recorded. It doesn't happen very often. I mean, even in the regular year, but in the summer, it really doesn't happen very often. Okay, on July 28th, we had 4 events. One in Chicago Heights, Illinois. It was their first, basically, suburb of Chicago. It was the first one the city had, and it was at a gathering or some kind of party, which is a common place for these things to happen. And Seattle recorded their 2nd one, and that was at a community outreach event and it happened right in a parking lot where the event was being held. And then Fort Lauderdale had their 3rd one, and this one started as some sort of altercation between 2 groups and then just turned into a large shooting. Tampa recorded their 2nd one, and this one says it's a developing story. So basically, all I got out of this one was that 4 people had been shot that were sitting in a vehicle. And then July 29th, Los Angeles recorded its 5th, and this one happened in Watts. And it just says that 4 were shot and 1 lost their life. July 30th, there were 4, and the one on Lansing, Michigan was the 3rd in Lansing. And it happened about 1 a.m. at a gathering, some kind of party that was happening in a shopping center parking lot. Some kind of party, or just where a bunch of people had gathered together in the parking lot. Muncie, Indiana recorded their 1st, and this was a block party, and it had 18 victims. This was, if you go just by victim count, not by how many people lived or didn't live, if you just go by the number of victims, this was the 5th largest that we've had this year, and that was the first one Muncie has had. Chicago, Illinois recorded their 19th, and this was a birthday party. And it was a birthday party with all women apparently there. Either that or all the victims were women, but they made it sound like the party was all women. It happened at 1 a.m. and a car pulled up and some guys got out and just started firing. Then Port Arthur, Texas. This was another one that happened at a bar or a nightclub, and this one was just reported as a developing story. So you can see on this one that a majority of them were happening at like bars and nightclubs or some kind of gathering outside, some kind of party of some sort outside. Seems to be the popular one this week. So if you like this kind of video, take a minute and hit that like button and maybe drop a comment in the comment section for the YouTube algorithm. And if you're not subscribed already, consider subscribing. I do videos like this every week on the mass shootings. If that's something you're interested in, hit the subscribe button so that these videos show up on your feed.